Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We are here Monday nights, 7 p.m. at Dugan's Pub, 29 West French Broad Street in Brevard, North Carolina. Glad you're able to join us for this evening's show. Got a exciting show on tap. We'll talk to women's soccer head coach Juan Mascaro, along with new assistant women's soccer coach Chelsea Shaughnessy. We'll hear from faculty athletics representative Dr. Steve Knott. We'll also talk with graduating senior women's basketball student athlete and vice president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, Annalie Bollinger. Then we'll wrap up this 2018-19 athletic season with Director of Athletics Miranda Nash. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Want to thank all of our sponsors: Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium Pepsi, and the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Well, we've got a lot to catch you up on because we weren't on the air last week due to some rescheduling of some baseball games. And to catch you up since we saw you last, first, the Brevard College Tornadoes track and field team had a big weekend at the USA South Conference Track and Field Championships, held this last weekend in Berea, Kentucky. A great result, especially in the 4x100 meter relay, where the team of Jamario Parks, C.J. Walton, Quentin Jackson, and Eddie Dean finished second to finish on the podium at the USA South Conference Championships. Also big results from Gavin Morgan. He ended up finishing sixth in the 5,000 meter run out of 25 runners. Ashley Jones in women's shot put finishes fifth. Gabrielle Covington finishes ninth in men's shot put, and Ari Drake finishes fourth in men's discus. So some great results from the USA South Conference Track and Field Championships. Great to see Coach Darrell Patrick and that group having success in conference championship play. Now, men's lacrosse had a busy couple weekends since we saw you last. First, back on April the 13th, in Danville, Virginia, the Tornadoes with a resounding 18-5 win over Averett. Jackson McCaig and Hewitt Farr, each with 5 goals and 4 assists in that one. Sam Duffy also with 4 goals and an assist. And goals also by Sean Pratt, Jack Shade, and Chris Effensee. And strong defensive effort led by Bobby Kokel and Daniel Ramos and Peyton Mooney in the net for the Tornadoes. And coming off that win over Averett, Hewitt Farr and Robert Kokel both were named USA South Conference Athletes of the Week. Hewitt on the offensive side, Robert on the defensive side. So great to see those honors after that win versus Averett. And then this past weekend, a special day at Ives Lamel Family Field, where a really incredible senior class of 10 seniors were honored during a halftime ceremony in the matchup against Huntington. Those seniors: Jackson McCaig, Huntley Davis, Chris Effensee, Sean Pratt, Hewitt Farr, Jack Shade, Harrison Roberts, Raheem Brown, Paxton Brown, and goalkeeper Peyton Mooney. Now, the Tornadoes ended up losing that game 13-6, and certainly not the result that head coach Jim Fritz and his squad wanted on senior day, but do want to extend congratulations to that group of 10 seniors who were honored this past Saturday with men's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse played 3 games since we saw you last versus Meredith, William Peace, and Averett. The William Peace game was also senior day for women's lacrosse, and Hunter Denny, Jessica Gunter, and Kaylee McRae were all honored in a pregame ceremony. And in that game, Makaya Vacchiano with 4 goals. She continued to lead the Tornadoes in scoring, and Hannah Scarf and Hunter Denny with a goal as well. So congratulations to those seniors again: Hunter Denny, Jessica Gunter, and Kaylee McRae. Baseball, now we had some rescheduling last week, and that preempted our usual Tornado Talk. And the way that series versus Covenant ended up shaking out, they played Saturday's game at Big League Camp, which is a turf facility in Marion. Junior pitcher Cross Robinson earned his first win of the season, 10 strikeouts, and went 6 2/3, allowing just 2 hits and an unearned run as the Tornadoes won game 1 of the 3-game series versus Covenant 5-4. They took Sunday off, and then Monday they played the rain-adjusted games 2 and 3 of the series. Covenant took both of those games, but another Senior Day ceremony took place that afternoon at Gil Cohen Field as pitcher Michael Merriman was honored as the team's lone senior. And then the very next day, on Tuesday, April 16th, the Tornadoes headed up to Virginia to take on Emory Henry, a 9-5 win to sweep the season series over Emory and Henry. Bray Wooten with a home run and a double in that one. Softball had its season finale, a doubleheader versus Piedmont International, resounding wins of 8-0 and also 16-4. Both by run rule. In the first win, Michaela McCoy had just a dazzling day on the mound, going the full 5 innings, allowing just 3 hits and 10 strikeouts. There was a stretch where she struck out 6 straight. Emily White, 3 for 3 with 2 triples and 2 runs scored. Sarah Lallier had a 3 RBI triple. All in all, the Tornadoes had 5 triples in that game. And then game 2, the Tornadoes get the series sweep as McCoy, this time at the plate, goes deep with a 2-run home run. And Allie Grace Hartman hits a grand slam that put that game away. Now, men's tennis wrapped up its regular season. A really tremendous year for the threesome of Tom Mittring, Tim Hanks, and Tyler Frazee. They concluded their USA South Conference season a perfect 33-0 in USA South singles play. Really impressive stuff from those three. Mittring and Hanks, both seniors from Germany. They will graduate. Tyler Frazee, an exciting freshman who racked up a number of USA South Conference Rookie of the Year honors. And the Tornadoes finish up their season with really just impressive scoring streaks and win streaks from those three in particular. Now, women's tennis, similarly, Samantha Seppi finished her season red hot, 12 straight singles wins. And there was a stretch where Seppi went 6-0, 6-0 in 8 straight matches. Just an incredible run for Samantha Seppi. She teamed up a number of times with senior Kelsey Kushner in number 1 doubles and had a lot of success there. Eleanor Flannery with a big year as well. And the Tornadoes women's tennis wrap up their regular season. Now, men's golf, some big news there is Austin Fisher has been selected to represent Brevard College at the USA South Conference Men's Golf Championships. That'll be coming up this weekend in LaGrange, Georgia. And also some recent news, because of a player not taking advantage of his potential entry into that USA South Conference Championships, Tornado Thibault Trachant, the teammate of Fisher, he will be selected to go to the USA South Conference Men's Golf Championships as well, so exciting stuff there. Climbing is preparing for the USA Climbing Collegiate National Championships. That's this weekend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Madison Altman, the freshman, with a automatic bid into that event after a big performance at the regional championships. Cycling, since we saw you last, now do want to mention a mountain biking competition that took place right here in the Brevard area and in the Pisgah National Forest. The Pisgah Stage Race, an exciting 5-stage, 5-day race, and current Brevard College student athletes as well as coaches and alums were participating in this mountain bike competition. Tyler Clark, the current Brevard College student athlete, won stage 3 of the competition, and then the very next day, Clark finishes second, and his coach, assistant coach Cypress Gorey, and BC alum as well, wins stage 4. And then in the overall competition, Tristan Cowie finishes first, and Cypress Gorey finishes second at the Pisgah Stage Race for mountain biking. Now, the Tornadoes are heading to Boone, North Carolina this weekend for the road race that's hosted by App State. That'll serve as a tune-up of sorts for the USA Cycling Collegiate Road National Championships set for May 10th through 12th in Augusta, Georgia. And spring practice wrapped up for the football team this past week, and also men's and women's soccer wrapped up. And we'll be getting to women's soccer here in just a matter of moments with our first two guests, as soccer spring practice has wrapped up as well. And we're going to review things with our first two guests, the coaching staff of the Tornado women's soccer program. Tornadoes coming off just a tremendous year this past fall in women's soccer, as we're joined now by head coach Juan Mascaro and newly appointed, even though not that new, but new to our audience here, assistant coach Chelsea Shaughnessy. Thanks for joining the show. Well, let's start with Coach Chelsea, because she's an exciting addition, and I'd like to hear from you first, Juan, as far as what she brings to your program as your, right hand and leading the Tornadoes.
She brings a lot of experience, first of all. She's been a head coach for the last 4 years. So having that perspective of being an assistant, being a head coach, and now being an assistant brings new perspective, new ideas, brings a fresh voice that is always welcome. But that is really what she brings is experience. And experience in Division III, which is we need that.
Right, because there's a lot of nuances to Division III, versus, say, Division II or even the NAI, as far as, how you recruit and also knowing the competition.
Is very unique. Recruiting is unique. The systems of play are unique. I mean, it's a very unique. Every division has its own uniqueness. And when you have somebody that's been in Division III for, she played 4 years in Division III, then she's coached 7 years in Division III.
Sadly, yeah, I think so, 8 now.
8 now. So, I mean, it's, that's 12 years in Division III. So that's a lot of experience.
So, Coach Chelsea, let's start there. As far as you played in Division III and then became a coach, how did that happen? How did you transition from going from player and deciding in your head somewhere along the line that, hey, I'd like to be a coach?
My process, I think I had a lot of opportunity through my coaching staff when I was at Nichols. They promoted me to go into coaching, to be honest. It kind of just fell in my lap, and when I got into it, I couldn't get away from it. So I really enjoyed my experience going from Nichols to Johnson & Wales, which was a huge change, and then getting the opportunity to work at Mitchell, and now here I've enjoyed it the whole process.
And bringing it back here to Brevard College, one, when you accepted the job, but also now that you've been here for a few months, what excites you most about the opportunity here at Brevard?
I think the most exciting part is there's so much opportunity within the conference for Brevard to go from a team from Division II to Division III and really kind of take advantage of the small school atmosphere. So that was one of the most exciting spots. And then the second piece was you can't deny the beauty of the campus and the people that are here. It's just a family atmosphere, and I think that's a big draw to anyone that's looking at Brevard.
Yeah, those items you mentioned are constants as I ask the question to both coaches and student athletes, here at Brevard College. Now, Coach Mascaro, last season was an exceptional one for the women's soccer program, no doubt about it.
Still is.
Still is. We're still
enjoying it.
We're enjoying it every last
bit. Second of it, yeah.
I guess until commencement, when special group of seniors, walk across that stage.
Yeah.
Just to tell the audience and kind of review, highest win total in NCAA history or NCAA era in school history, a trip to the ECAC tournament, and just a amazing showing in the record books, particularly from players like Ashley Hughes, Megan Shina, and Caroline David, who have etched their place in the Brevard College record books. In an incredible senior class, an incredible year. Can you kind of sum up just how special that was as someone who's been in coaching for a while?
You don't get those very often. So as a coach, you have to enjoy them, because you don't get those type of seasons, and you don't get those type of players, and you don't get that type of leadership very often. So it comes around, a couple of times in your career. So you really, really have to enjoy it. And really, when you get into coaching, this is why you get into coaching. And from my perspective, you get into coaching to see your athletes be successful, to see your student athletes be successful. And they have been successful as students, as athletes, and it's just so enjoyable to watch. So now trying to keep that going is going to be the challenge, right? But it's something that you have to really enjoy. You have to really. It's kind of surreal sometimes, but it's you just got to enjoy it because it doesn't come often.
And Coach, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to, meet this outgoing senior class and so forth. Have you gotten that sense as well as someone who's kind of with fresh eyes that, this was an exceptional group and, maybe, there's a piece of it where you're trying to link them up with the current players who are going to be here next fall and try to rub off, as much of that wisdom as you can before they leave?
I definitely do. I think that the best part you can see from them is they've left a legacy within the younger squad. I think the atmosphere that they've left with the upcoming classes is something that is unspeakable. Their culture is so good, and that's a big piece because of those seniors. So it's definitely evident that they were a big piece in this program.
Now, you all have been hard at work this spring as well. Soccer programs on the NCAA level have spring practice and the chance to play a spring game as well. Could each of you kind of touch on what your goals were for spring practice and what you all accomplished?
Sure. I had one goal for the spring, and that was for the team to get used to Chelsea. That was my only goal for the spring. I didn't say I wanted to win the game, we wanted to play this way or do this, do that. My goal was for the team to get used to her because it's a new voice, it's a new, new coaching philosophy and all that. So I kind of took a step back and let her do most of the practice sessions. And I think the team reacted very well to her. So that was my number one goal, is to get them used to her. And that way we're ready for the fall.
Okay, so with that being said, you were in the trenches with the players then. What were the things that you saw perhaps improvement on, throughout spring practice?
I think the biggest thing, I wouldn't say improvement, but I think their work rate and their diligence in getting better grew every day. And I think that'll hopefully carry on through the off season and coming into our fall, and that kind of energy just keeps building as they get closer.
Now, Coach, back to your background. Are there certain positions that, are sort of your sweet spot? And perhaps you can touch on the way you all are going to be delegating and dividing the responsibilities of running the women's soccer program.
Well, she's going to take care of the goalkeepers for sure, because I'm too old for that. My back can't take it anymore. But she's going to take care of the goalkeepers, and she's worked all the spring with the goalkeepers, so I think they're in great hands. And probably she's going to take a little bit of the defensive side of things, as she enjoys that a lot. And probably we're gonna go that way. Yeah.
And I'd imagine you've got experience in both those areas, Coach.
I do, and I think the goalkeepers, it was really fun to work with the two that we have. I think they are very talented individuals, so I'm excited to kind of keep going off them and building with future generations coming in and building a positive culture just within there. And then I love defense, so I'm excited to kind of just get to work with this team and see how they grow through the process.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning Hannah Weatherall and Rebecca Rojas,
absolutely.
who, not many teams have the luxury of two superb goalkeepers like that.
Not many teams at this level has the luxury of, or a coach has the luxury of really, it don't matter who plays. I mean, anybody can play, at any given game, and that's okay. Because they're so close and level. And they're great teammates. Hannah Weatherall is one of our captains for next year. So they're great teammates, great kids, and phenomenal goalkeepers. So, we're blessed. We're truly blessed.
They both won USA South Defensive Player of the Week at certain points last season, and it's going to be exciting to see them platoon this fall and get the job done once again. Now, the women's soccer schedule has been released for 2019, and fans can go ahead and start blocking off certain dates and making travel plans and that sort of thing. And would like to touch on it just a bit. A home opener on Friday, August 30th, 7 p.m. under the lights at Ives Lamel Family Field. A positive, I would imagine, opening at home.
Yes. It's always good to open at home. We hadn't opened at home for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. We've always been away, so it's nice to open at home. It's a great opponent, Emory and Henry. We played them very close last season. We won 1-0 at their place. It's a great opponent. It's going to be a great game. It's really going to be a great test to see how the season is going to look because they are really, really a good opponent.
So fans, circle that date, August 30th. That's a Friday night. Come on out to Brevard College and see the debut of the 2019 edition of the women's soccer team. Now September, however, looks challenging because of
on the road.
On the road.
Road trip. Yeah.
7 of the 8
Yeah.
matches in September
Yeah.
are road games.
Yes, they
so have you already thought about that a little bit as far as, hey, that's going to really sort of define the team and how they do on the road?
It is. And you know, you have to have the mentality of, you know, you have to stay away from home and away. I mean, a soccer game is a soccer game no matter where you go. You know, it's nice to play at home because you know the field, you know, you have the fans, but really it's 11v11. It's the same field everywhere you go. And you know, it's 3 referees, 2 teams, and you got to go and you have to be successful away. You will never have a successful season if you can't win away. So you have to get used to winning away.
Yep.
And we got to understand that. We got to know that, and we'll make sure that they know that. We make sure that they understand that. You know, it's not always going to be fun to play away, but you're going to have to be able, for us to be successful, we're going to have to win away because you play half of your season or more away. So you have to get used to it.
Yeah, and if you're returning to postseason action, that's likely going to be on the road as well.
That's likely going to be on the road as well. Correct. So yeah.
Now, October is when really the meat of the USA South Conference schedule happens, and a number of home games, but you know, trips also to LaGrange, Huntington, and Berea.
Yep.
Now, after spending some time in the USA South Conference, what's sort of your take on the conference as far as a women's soccer league?
I mean, it's pretty good. It's a great level. I mean, it's a really good conference on both sides. Because we play some of the teams on the other side, but our side it's pretty competitive. I mean, you have Piedmont, you have you know, Huntington, you have Maryville, Covenant. I mean, those teams are very, very good. So it's really tight. So I would say, you know, the first 5 seeds are very, very tight. So it's you know, it's challenging. It's not an easy schedule. The USA South is for women's soccer. I mean, it's not an easy conference for sure.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is every game's going to count.
Every game is going to count.
Absolutely.
Every game is going to be, you know, every game is going to be difficult. Yeah.
Well, appreciate y'all coming on the show. Chelsea, we'll leave it at this, you know, and this is a question I ask all sorts of guests all the time. But now that you've been here, and you touched on a little bit before, but now that you've been here and kind of gotten in the rhythm of Brevard College and Brevard, North Carolina, and you're also talking on the phone and, you know, via email and what have you to recruits, what makes Brevard a special place to come and play soccer?
That's an easy one. It's the people. I think when you're in this area, it's the first thing you notice, the first thing you feel. It's the gut feeling you get. It's the people are just so close and they're on the same page. And when you talk about schools across the country, in a department, in a campus-wide, that's one of the hardest things to find. And I think the people here make it special.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's always great to catch up with the women's soccer program, which again, just want to congratulate you, Coach, on an amazing fall. You know, we're going to do some.
We're still enjoying it.
Yeah, we're still enjoying it. But we're going to do a deep, season in review segment with Athletic Director Miranda Nash later in the show.
Great.
And trust me, women's soccer is going to be a big part of it.
We're going to enjoy it until August 13th.
Oh, so beyond commencement, you're going to enjoy it through the summer.
We're going to still enjoy it over the summer. Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you again for coming on the show. Fans, go to bctornadoes.com. Check out the women's soccer schedule. Go ahead, make your plans, your travel plans to Brevard. Block off that calendar and check out this product this fall.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
All right, so that was head coach Juan Mascaro and assistant coach Chelsea Shaughnessy. Women's soccer coaching staff talking a little Tornadoes women's soccer. Great to hear from them coming off spring practice. And excited for this next guest as he gets settled into the what's known as the coach's corner here at Dugan's Pub. Happy to be joined now by faculty athletics representative and also professor for exercise science at Brevard College, Dr. Steve Knott.
How you doing?
Dr. Knott, thanks for joining the show. It's great to have you on Tornado Talk, and do want to let listeners behind the curtain a little bit on the world of academics as they relate to college athletics. And your role here at Brevard College as it relates to the Department of Athletics is you're the faculty athletics representative, also known as the FAR, in college sports. Can you educate our audience what a faculty athletics representative, what his or her role is?
Yeah, my position actually, every NCAA school has to have a faculty athletic rep or a FAR, and I actually directly report to the president of the college. And my position is really to be kind of the bridge or the liaison between academics and athletics. And my main responsibility is really for the benefit of the student athlete and make sure that they have a good experience and to just kind of really intervene when there might be conflict between, say, something that's academic, like missing a class due to traveling for a team. And, sometimes the student athletes feel like, okay, the professor's taking points off for me or something like that. And so they would come to me with this issue, and then I have to usually investigate it. And a lot of times I find out that the student athletes really aren't being punished. It's just the perception that the student athlete might have. And so it's basically to protect their rights as far as being a student and an athlete on campus. Because I know people who aren't involved in athletics don't really realize how much time commitment it is for a student athlete to both be the student and the athlete. And my job is really to kind of protect them in as far as making sure they don't do too much time in one or too much or not enough time in another one, basically.
And does some of that process start even earlier when the student is perhaps selecting classes for their next semester and planning out, what their class schedule may be like?
Yeah, a lot of times it's just making sure they understand some of the conflicts that might come into play as far as selecting classes. And like one of the issues we have is that, they can't miss over 30% of their classes for a semester. And especially with a lab class, that sometimes becomes an issue. So sometimes you have to actually ask the student athlete, well, can we move this course with the lab to another semester when it's not in your season?
Sure.
So you're not missing all that time and then possibly fail it because you might get to that point where if you have one more absence, you've actually failed the class, and they might truly be sick, but they've missed enough time to where, it's like you almost need to come to class even if you're sick. And so we try to avoid those situations.
Yeah, and I know there's a whole, community of the faculty athletic representatives throughout the NCAA. I mean, like you said, every school has to have one, and you all gather up from time to time. And most recently, the NCAA convention took place in Orlando, which I believe you took the trip down to.
Yes.
Is that a opportunity for you to, share ideas and also, hear from folks who may have been in this game for a long time?
Yeah, that was actually a really good experience. And plus, they also have actually a FAR convention that they have, too, which this year was up in Baltimore, and I went to that also. And the nice part about both of those situations is you kind of hear what's going on at other campuses and what issues that maybe they run into from time to time and how they deal with it, especially with me being new at this, is that, it's nice to be able to listen to other people that have been there and doing it for years, and how they sometimes will work through certain situations. And also, looking at the job itself and what it entails if you really want to do a good job at it. And I remember listening when I was at the NCAA convention, listening to one of the FARs, and she was explaining how she had never, ever gone to a sporting event And when she became the FAR, she realized that, it's important to be seen with the student athletes so they know who you are and they know that you care about what they're doing. And how, she ended up even traveling to some of the away events, and just how much that really means to a student athlete to have a faculty member there to see them.
Sure.
I think one of the things that, I've been in higher ed now for close to 20 years, and I know one thing that I've always believed in is if I have a student that's doing something, whether it's athletics or whether it's music or drama, that it's important for me to go and support them in whatever activity they do. And it's really, in the position I'm in at now, sometimes I can sit back and see how important that is for the student athletes, especially when they see a professor that doesn't normally come, that comes, and how important that is to them to kind of feel supported by that faculty member.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and I can attest. I see it everywhere in terms of the athletic events here at Brevard College, and I see it rubbing off on the other faculty members who may be following your lead and coming out and supporting as well. And I know it means the world to the student athletes.
Yeah, I know there's a few faculty members I kind of give a hard time to from time to time and tease them a little bit about, you need to come out to this game with me. And they're pretty good. The people that I do that with are actually people who do come out and support the student athletes, but I'll give them a hard time when they don't show up for a game for whatever reason.
Well, and it goes both ways. I'm sure the professor feels some gratification being able to see the student that they're used to seeing in the classroom on the playing field and seeing them perform in this other, capacity.
Yeah, and it's, everybody has their own talents, and the student athletes, their talents are athletic talents, and it's always nice to go out and see them shine at those moments.
Now, you're also a professor at Brevard College in the area of exercise science. Could you go a little further as far as, what that offering is at Brevard College, especially if, parents or prospective students may be interested in Brevard College and maybe taking that on as a major?
Yeah, exercise science, it's relatively a broad field. But the main thing is you're, really studying the effects of exercise on the body. And what a lot of our students tend to go into is physical therapy. And so, again, they have to do a lot of anatomy, a lot of exercise physiology, a lot of biomechanics. But then we also have a lot of students who will go into other areas that might be personal trainer. And we also have a program where they can get teaching licensure, so they would be a health and physical education teacher. And actually one of the big minors in the exercise science program is actually the coaching minor, which again, with dealing with student athletes, a lot of them, that's an interest that they have.
Sure.
And so we'll get a lot of student athletes, especially doing that minor part, but almost every student in our exercise science program is usually an athlete.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And a lot of careers beyond coaching are available in that field. You mentioned the personal training. That industry's, exploding throughout the country. So, it's a practical major as well that you can find jobs after you graduate. Yeah,
we've actually had some students graduate. I said earlier physical therapy, but we've had some go into occupational therapy. Some become physician's assistants. We've actually had quite a few that have expressed interest in coaching at college. And for those, usually what you do is you recommend that they get a GA position somewhere at another school and become a graduate assistant coach, which, we're exploring that possibility of that happening possibly at Brevard in the future.
Now, Dr. Knott, I would like listeners and viewers to learn a little bit more about you and how you got into this field. And as I look at your bio, you graduated from Old Dominion with a bachelor's, then Norfolk State with a master's, and then you got your doctorate from Old Dominion. But the one thing that really jumps out to me is a certified sports performance coach for USA weightlifting. Could you tell the backstory on that, and is that something you're still involved with?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story because I got into actually doing triathlons when I was older, probably in my 30s was when I started doing that. And that's, definitely an endurance sport. And, I was successful at it. But it got to the point where I was kind of tired of all the training and stuff I had to do. And while I was at Old Dominion University, one of our new faculty members in our exercise science program there, this gentleman named Phil Sabatini, was a former national Olympic weightlifting champ. And when he moved into our area, he started actually an Olympic weightlifting club. And I had some small experience with lifting when I was younger, but not really competitive. But I kind of joined his club and got involved in it, and have been competing in Olympic weightlifting now for probably about 4 years. And so when I came to Brevard, because of the fact that we're a D3 school, we don't have a specific strength and conditioning coach. I kind of thought it would be good to start an Olympic weightlifting club. And so that's when I got certified to coach, because you really can't have a club unless you get certified through USA Weightlifting.
Sure.
And we had our first athlete compete in his first competition about a month ago. Justin or Bubba Parker, one of the football players, and he actually in his first competition qualified for 3 different national championships.
Outstanding.
And so we were really excited about that, because he qualified for the national university championships, the national junior championships, and then there's also national level meet that's called American Open Series, and so he qualified for that. And so that was really good. Sometimes I think I take a little bit more pride in my athletes doing things than myself.
Typical coach mentality.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I'm sure that's a resource for the student athletes as well. If that's something they want to get into, I mean, it's only going to help them in their sport too if they're able to increase their physical strength.
Yeah, that was really kind of my thinking behind it when I wanted to start the club. It wasn't so much getting my competitive Olympic lifters, but it was more building a strength program type atmosphere for the student athletes where they can have somebody go to and watch them, but be strictly a volunteer basis of coming in and working out. And in our exercise science program, we've had a weightlifting class, but we haven't offered it for the last 2 years I've been here, but I've actually got it where I'm offering it this fall, and it actually filled up, and I had to open it up to more students because I had so many that wanted to do it.
Great.
And some of them are athletes, but I've also had a few students who came to me who weren't athletes but thought it'd be interesting to take the class.
Well, Dr. Nye, I would like to end with this. As someone who monitors all the awards that are handed out, for student athletes here at Brevard College, there's been an exceptional number who have gotten academic accolades. And I would like to start with this. There were 7 cycling student athletes who were named USA Cycling Academic All-Stars. We're unique in that we have this varsity cycling program here, and it's the perfect location for it. We have national championships, galore. Really just a wonderful program with head coach Brad Purley, man in that group. But to see 7 of them win USA Cycling Academic All-Stars, which was a combined award, you had to qualify for the national championships, and at the same time you had to have a superior grade point average. Could you talk a little in your getting to know the cycling student athletes, just how exceptional of a group they are?
Yeah, they're actually a great group. We've got several of them that are in exercise science, and they're actually probably our strongest students. And I know in the exercise science field, part of that is they're so into this is something that's going to help me with my cycling that that's why they're such a good student. It's a personal interest in them, and so they spend more time studying it. But it's just, you find that there are certain sports where the academics tend to be a little bit stronger, and cycling at Brevard tends to be that way. And part of it, I'd say, probably has to do a lot with Brad. Because he recruits the kids that are going to probably be successful in college. And I've known Brad and through my son, actually, because they raced against each other. And then my son actually was a coach at Belmont Abbey for a while before he moved on to working with USA Cycling. But, he had always talked highly of Brad. And so I think a lot of it reflects kind of back on Brad and the types of student athletes he recruits. And I know sometimes it's, not always the best cyclist, but one that you can kind of mold into being one of the best. And I've kind of seen that with a couple of the younger ones that have come on this past couple of years. But really, it just seems like they're a very focused group, not only in their sport, but also in the academics. And it's actually a pleasure when you work with these kids.
No doubt. I've really enjoyed getting to know a number of them as well. Now, not just cycling, but I can assure you across pretty much every sport, there's going to be conference academic, all conference members. That team for the whole year hasn't been released. That's how the USA South handles it. They wait till the end of the season. But Ashley Hughes, we had her head coach, Juan Mascaro, on earlier, was named a Google Cloud COSIDA Academic All-District member. That COSIDA Academic All-American program is one of the longest running and most prestigious. It's tough to earn that one. Again, not just the grades, but also the performance on the field is what gets you into that elite club. And also 2 football players, Tyler Gregory and Ryan Jordan, were named to the National Football Foundation's Hampshire Honor Roll, which was a prestigious honor roll for them. Kind of broadly, now from your role, how proud are you of all the student athletes, and especially these ones who are collecting these academic accolades for their performance in the classroom?
From my position, that's great. You love to talk about that, especially when you can talk it up to faculty members, because sometimes they see them just in the class and they don't realize they are excelling on the field as well as the class, and they'll know that these individuals are excelling in their classroom, but they don't always know they excel on the field. And so it's always nice to be able to bring that up to them, that these students that you have in class are excelling not only in your class but on the field as well. But I also think the other thing that I think Brevard in general can take a little bit of pride in, especially the athletic department, is, now I've only been here for 2 years, but I've actually seen a much stronger group academically of student athletes coming to Brevard this last year, the current year, than the year before. And so it's like the coaches are really doing, I think, an excellent job at bringing the student athlete to campus. And that's important. And, like in the past when I was doing some research, I did a lot of research in student athlete and student athlete identity, and it's always important to figure out, where they put their emphasis in. And it's tough because it's a time type thing. But it's always great when you know that they're actually excelling in both.
Well, the college as a whole had its big awards and honors ceremony last week, and the number of student athletes who were collecting those awards was quite exceptional. If you were to check out that story at brevard.edu, you'll recognize many of those names if you're a Tornado fan. But I do want to end with this and ask you about one in particular who was named Outstanding Exercise Science Major, Mai Sakuma, who's been really an exceptional part of the whole athletic department here. Women's soccer student athlete who then starts to get some experience coaching women's soccer, has been a tremendous asset to Coach Evan Schreiner on the tennis courts in helping with all that success, and really just an exceptional student athlete who I'm sure you've worked closely with it as. Yeah, and again, congratulations to her, Outstanding Exercise Science Major. Care to comment on Sakuma and just, how special she is?
She was, I had her my first year here in my very first class. And, Mai is a special person. She's got a heart of gold. I mean, she'll do anything for you. And I think she's really become like a family member here at Brevard. Just today, she's in my lifetime sports class, and one of the tests that they have to do is a serving test in tennis. And so she was actually, I trusted her enough to let her actually help score and test my other students while I was doing a different test. And so that's just the kind of person she is. I know she's reliable. But I think the biggest thing I've seen in her is I've just seen her grow. She was a little shy when she first got here, which I think part of it could have been, the language issue. But I've just seen her grow as a person, and it's always special when you see that. And I think from my perspective, as far as a faculty member goes, I love to see the growth in the students. There's a football player that's a freshman, and I'm not going to name him, but he was one I had some concerns with when I had him in the fall, and he has changed around so much this second semester that I just love seeing that. It's kind of special when you can see the kids start to mature and actually realize they can do something, because a lot of times, since we get a lot of first generation college students on campus here, I think an issue sometimes comes where they're not sure that they can be successful at college, mainly academic. They're as far as the student athletes go, they usually have a lot of confidence in their athletic, but it's their academics they're not quite sure. And I think that holds them back a little bit until they realize after that first semester, hey, I can do this. And that's what I see in this one young man, and it's just so exciting to see him. And that's kind of what I saw with Mai was that first semester I had her, I think she wasn't quite sure if she had made her a good decision to come here, but I think she realizes it now. I mean, she's always got a smile on her face.
You could just see it in her face, no doubt about it. Well, Dr. Knott, thank you for joining the show this evening. It's been a fascinating talk with you, and congratulations on all the success with the student athletes, and appreciate all the work you do, putting the student into the student athlete equation. Thanks for joining the show, Dr. Knott. All right, that was Dr. Steve Knott, faculty's athletics representative at Brevard College. Great to hear a little more about the world of balancing academics and athletics, such a major part in being a student athlete. And speaking of student athletes, really excited to have this one back on the show. Joined by women's basketball senior. I don't get to say that too much longer, right? Annalie Bollinger. Annalie, thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, Annalie, before we get into what you've been up to since the season ended, would like to just review it a little bit. Now that we're, past all those emotions of senior day and all that, we could kind of look back at it with clear eyes. But an exciting season. I know you're going to miss your teammates and that kind of thing and your coaches, but you had a tremendous year, and you've had a tremendous career at Brevard. The biggest number that jumps out, career three-pointers made leader here at Brevard College, and also you passed that 1,000-point mark. Can you sum up, what this senior season on the court meant to you?
It's really hard to put into words. It was such a amazing experience for the year. I went into it not knowing anything about the three-point record, and I honestly wasn't sure how close I was to 1,000 points. I kind of just went in for the year, got some young players, and I just wanted to have a great season and get some wins on the board for Coach Hudd and Coach Hyatt because they're working hard for us. I just wanted to have a good season as a team. I really wasn't thinking individually that much, so it was really cool to be able to get both those achievements. It really meant a lot to me. To sum up my career, I know it meant a lot to my family to be able to experience that with me. It was really great.
And do you get the feeling that there's great things to come for this women's basketball program, knowing what players are going to be coming back next year and who the underclassmen were, but also of course knowing about what Coach Hudd and Coach Hyatt are all about?
I do. I think it's on the up and ups for sure. I came into a program that had my sophomore year, I want to say we had 5-6 wins. And the next 2 years, it was a whole different atmosphere, a whole different team. We were plagued with some injuries my sophomore years, and then Coach Hudd and Coach Hyatt did such a great job recruiting, brought in some great young talent, and I think that the years to come are going to be really, really great for them. I'm excited to see how they grow and succeed going forward. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do.
Now, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show tonight before we wrapped up the season was you're part of this So You Want to Be a Coach program with the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. And as a result, you've had some great opportunities, to learn from some of the best in the WBCA. I believe you got to go to a workshop down in Tampa as part of the women's Final Four. Can you catch people up on what that program is and then also what the opportunity was down in Tampa?
Yeah, absolutely. If you are serious about going into coaching, you have to be a woman, obviously. But going into it, you have to exhaust your your 4th year of college basketball, and you apply through the WBCA. You get a 1-letter recommendation from your coach, write a 1-letter philosophy, get some recommendations, resume, things like that. Submit them in, and if you're lucky enough to get accepted, it's pretty small group that gets accepted. And you go down to this conference. It was in the beginning of April in Tampa, and we had speakers. We had an assistant coach from Alabama, head coach from Vanderbilt, head coach for Texas A&M Commerce. I mean, big name coaches down there. And you sit in, and they speak to you, and you get to talk with them, and you get to go to socials and just really connect with these coaches and put yourself out there. And it's a great opportunity for you to get your name out there and hopefully find a spot in the coaching business.
And it happened during the NCAA Women's Final Four,
Absolutely.
which was happening in Tampa. So the whole city's buzzing. You know, there's activity everywhere. How about as far as that side of it, just the fact that you're part of that major event down there?
It was actually pretty cool. I haven't been to anything that big really and been involved in it. So if you were in the WBCA, you pretty much had credentials. You pretty much got into anything and everything you wanted. We had great seats for the Final Four. Both games were great games. And we actually got to go to the national championship game,
Wow.
too. And they were all held in the same arena. And they were just great games. It was so cool to be a part of that and say that, hey, I got to go to the Final Four in the SO program. That's a pretty cool thing to get to say.
Outstanding. Now, I know you've had the goal of being a coach for a while, and part of it comes from your family background and so forth. Can you kind of tell folks a little bit about how this has been something you've been aiming towards, you know, for much of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I was coached by my dad when I was little, and we went at it. We were head and head, both competitive, but I saw how much he enjoyed being able to coach me. And then I had AAU in high school and college, and I've just had such great coaches. I was like, wow, I really want to give back to these kids the same way that these coaches gave to me. I want to impact these lives and hopefully make them better people, not just as players but as individuals. And it's just something I've always wanted to do. And when I was younger, I was like, I want to be a college basketball coach. What's better than coaching basketball for your job? It's not work to me. So. And
have you started to, you know, and I'm sure going down there to Tampa for the workshop, you know, helped you get in this mindset, but have you started to, you know, figure out what the path is? Because it's not easy to break into the coaching industry. And, you know, so do you have some ideas as far as what's next after graduation?
I do a little bit. It is really hard to break into. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be to just try to get your foot in the door, because it's not, oh, I want to go here, I want to go there. It's what's open. Am I qualified for that? How can I get in? Who do I know to get me a spot to get my foot in the door? So it's so much more than just, I want to be a college basketball coach. It's not that simple. But my route, hopefully, is to be a GA, be a grad assistant for a team. That way you usually get your master's paid for, stipend, maybe a meal plan. Go that route, 2 years, get my master's, then hopefully be an assistant somewhere. So that's the route I would prefer to take. We'll just see how it goes.
Right, and it's a proven route. You know, a lot of people have done it that way, and you know, certainly I wish you all the best of luck. Now, the other reason I wanted to have you on the show was to talk a little bit about the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, also known as SAC, which you're the vice president of. You'll be wrapping up your term shortly here. I know you all are busy helping plan the Athletics Awards banquet with your leader, Molly Penland here. Can you tell folks a little more about SAC and what that's all about?
SAC's a really great opportunity. For those of you who don't know, join SAC. It's a great thing to have on your resume. It's a great thing to be a part of. It's pretty much student athletes are the kind of the focal point for athletics, and we're the reps in between the NCAA. So we kind of have meetings with faculty, staff, athletics, and we say how we feel about stuff, how they're feeling, and we just kind of talk about things and go back and forth. And we do fundraising and charity and community service, and we help with athletic events. There's so much to SAC. It's a really good thing to be a part of. I've had a great time doing it, and being able to give back is a great opportunity in this club.
Yeah, what I really like about it too is it goes across all the different sports. So you're vice president. The president's a men's lacrosse player, Jack Shade, and you two have to work together as president and vice president, although your sports are completely different.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of classes with Jack, so that one's pretty easy for me. He probably sees me way more than he wants to. But I think our other board members are lacrosse, soccer, women's lacrosse, and then you have cycling, golf. We have every sport on there. You usually have 2 to 3 reps a team, so everyone's getting a voice for their sport.
And Wednesday night at the Boschmer Gymnasium is the Athletic Awards Banquet, and from my understanding, the leadership of SAC kind of runs the show for that event. You guys do the MC work and everything?
Yes, our AD Miranda and our director for SAC, Molly, they've worked their tails off to make sure that the banquet is exactly the way it should be. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have Bespies, which Bespies is really cool, really fun to be a part of. We voted on the awards as SAC members, and we kind of talked it over how we wanted to go about it. And then students from different sports are going to MC and announce the awards. And there'll be food there. Students need to come out if you're invited and have a great time.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting night at the Boschmer Gymnasium this Wednesday. Well, Annalee, thanks for joining the show. Congratulations on an amazing career at Brevard College on the court and also off the court with all your leadership for the student athletes. Best of luck as you go on your journey to become a coach. You've got a lot of fans rooting for you to make all this happen, and it sounds like you're doing all the right things to get into place. And it sounded like just a wonderful experience down in Tampa you were able to enjoy. So thanks again for joining the show, Annalee, and we'll talk to you down the road. All right, women's basketball graduating senior Annalee Bollinger, Vice President of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, a selection for the WBCA So You Want to Be a Coach program. She headed down to the WBCA convention in Tampa. What an experience for her. And as we keep this ball rolling here on Tornado Talk, joined now by Director of Athletics, Miranda Nash. Miranda, thanks for joining Tornado Talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with the student athlete who was just here to my left, Annalee Bollinger. And I would like to talk about her role in SAC, but also the opportunity that student athletes at Brevard College are able to get going to a program like that down at the Women's Final Four. Jack Shade, who's the president of SAC, was able to go to the NCAA convention with other SAC members from throughout the country in an event that you were at as well. Can you talk about that as far as sort of the unique opportunities that student athletes who put themselves in that position are able to enjoy across the world of college athletics?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is they have to take that initiative to tell us that they're interested of living in our world. A lot of times student athletes don't realize everything that's behind the scenes of one of their games. And I know when Jack went down to convention, he said, gosh, I didn't realize what this world was like, a lot bigger than he anticipated. And so I think that's under the direction of Commissioner Hart. For the closer conventions, to have one student from every school go is incredible. I mean, there's definitely an expense there, but he had them going. I mean, like, their schedules were full, so I think they were pretty exhausted, but what an incredible opportunity for them to go. And then Annalee taking the initiative to want to go, coming to me saying, hey, can you help me with this? Like, that takes a lot to know the people to ask, to put you in the position, and then to take the initiative to apply. So proud of them, and I hope that they continue in our world, because I think it's only going to get better with people like them in it.
Well, speaking of things we're proud of, what I'd like to do for this program is do kind of a, we won't go that deep, but we'll do a season in review, of all the success that we've had at Brevard College Athletics, because, this is the last episode of Tornado Talk for the season, and it's coming to an end quickly here with the awards banquet on Wednesday and then commencement around the corner as well. And where I'd like to start is back in the fall. We had Coach Mascaro and Coach Shaughnessy on. Women's soccer had a huge year this fall, and led by an incredible senior class, record-breaking performances from Ashley Hughes, Caroline David, and Megan Shina. Just a big year for the women's soccer program. How proud are you of that group, how they got it done?
Yeah, coming in, I've been away for 3 years. Everyone's new, or they were freshmen, and now they're seniors. And so to see the development of the fall class, because they were freshmen when I left, was outstanding, and Ashley had an incredible year. They all did. I mean, just so proud of them for the determination and grit that they showed. And then it was really fun to travel with them postseason and get to see them off the field, which is very different. And so that was special memories that I'll hold. My first semester being an AD and getting to see that team in action.
Now, men's soccer, we had a coaching change after the year, and we have an exciting new head coach in Bradley Morrison, who was a guest on the show a couple weeks ago. His assistant coach, Juan Mascaro Jr., is in the house tonight at Dugan's Pub. Can you talk about where the men's soccer program is heading and in those good hands of Coach Morrison?
You know, people ask me all the time if I have a short list on positions, and the truth is I do, and men's soccer was one of them. And when the opportunity presented itself to have a head coach in that sport, I couldn't think of anyone else that I wanted to lead that program because I see his relationships with the players. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm teaching a class in management, and one of the questions was, who is your favorite leader and why? And after this had been 5 weeks maybe that Bradley had been here, someone listed him as their favorite leader. And so I took a picture of it, didn't tell him who it was, and said, you know, you're making an impact really early on.
That says a lot.
It does. And so, you know, I think that his ability to connect with them off the field is only going to catapult their success on the field. So I'm really looking forward to their season. They have some exciting things that they're going to do next spring, hopefully, travel-wise. And so, you know, I really just think that he is going to take the program and build it on character and have a lot of success with that.
Now, as we continue through the fall sports, volleyball had a tough season in terms of wins and losses, but a very young team, you know, who seems to have its core group coming back and also doing all the right things here in the offseason to improve upon that record next year under the direction of head coach Anna Grant. Can you speak a little bit about the volleyball team and, you know, some of the things you're seeing from them?
Yeah, you know, I left a region where volleyball was like king. I mean, it was like a national championship game every conference match that I saw. And so coming back, you know, definitely a different pace, but it was rebuilding. And they're so young, and they're going to have the talent with some time. And Anna believes that, Bailey believes that, and so I think that'll take some time to develop and have leadership emerge on the team. I think that'll happen naturally. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do with some new pieces this year, and retaining Bailey as an assistant for another year to have the same kind of consistency there, and I think that'll be good for them.
Now, the Brevard College football team really came on big at the end of the season. Winners of 3 of their last 4 games, had an excellent record at home, 4-1 at Brevard Memorial Stadium. The standout of the Brevard College football team this past season was senior wide receiver Bubba Craven. He broke all sorts of records, but also got a selection to the National Bowl in Daytona Beach. You know, any school this size who has a football program, it's a big undertaking. You know, no doubt about it. From roster size to coaching staff and all the other variables. Pleased with, you know, where the football program's headed?
I am, and I wish we could keep Bubba and Axel like on the field a few more years. You know, they're helping coach the team. And so it's nice to have their leadership this spring and hope they both stay for the fall. Not sure what that looks like for them and their plans, but just you want to talk about character, they have it. You know, they have what Coach Kite's vision was for where he wants his players to be, and I hope that they've left their legacy there for those, you know, that'll be here next year.
Yeah, I've heard some great things from spring football practice, how those student assistants, you know, the 4 of them had been performing and helping out with the overall cause. And I know Coach Kite is excited to get going again this fall, and we're excited to see where the Tornadoes football program takes us next. But it certainly looks like it's trending upward. And before we move on to the winter sports, mountain biking. Now, if there was like a signature sport for Brevard College, it's mountain biking.
Absolutely.
I mean, I talk to these cyclists, and they tell me I chose to come to Brevard over schools in Colorado and in Utah because you can mountain bike year-round here, and that the elevation isn't so high that it snows too much. In other words, it's utopia for mountain bikers. And the Brevard College program has just been sensational over the year. 10 of the last 11 years, including this past year, a top 4 finish at the Mountain Bike National Championships, several national championships over that span as well. And in specific, this past year, the team of Carson Beckett, Tyler Orschel, and Hannah Ahrensman will finish second in the team relay. Orschel finishes second in the individual omnium. Orschel wins the Southeastern Collegiate Mountain Bike Championship. And also 3 cyclists, Carson Beckett, Nathan St. Clair, and Tyler Clark, went to the World Championships in mountain biking in Switzerland last fall. I mean, the mountain biking program is just tremendous here at Brevard College, and another great fall this past year under the direction of head coach Brad Purley. After that, long soliloquy about mountain biking, anything to add, just how cool it is that we've got this mountain biking program?
I wasn't really sure what I had in mind for mountain biking the first time that I went. In Beach Mountain, they hosted nationals there, and they said they were going to be on Ski Beach, which is the ski slope. And I said, well, surely they're not, biking down a ski slope. They were up and down a ski slope. So just the sheer physicalness of the sport is incredible to me, and what they put their bodies through, and just the perseverance that they have. That's why they get it done literally on the mountain and in the classroom. I mean, they're incredible student athletes for us, and model citizens on campus. And, I see Tyler working in the coffee shop about every day, and so it's just, it's pretty incredible to me what they do. So.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what's next, next fall with the mountain biking program. And, we talked to Dr. Knott about it. 7 USA Cycling Academic All-Stars, so they're getting it done in the classroom as well, and just an exceptional group there. So we head to the winter, and we'll stick with cycling because they go straight from mountain biking to the discipline of cyclocross. And if anyone hasn't seen cyclocross, you got to check this thing out. I mean, it's just a wild affair. And they had the cyclocross national championships in Louisville, Kentucky. It was an absolute mud pit because of some rain that had come through. And incredibly, the Brevard College relay team of Hannah Rensman, Tyler Clark, and Tyler Orschel, and that's right, I only said 3 riders. Most teams, any, given relay is 4, but Hannah ran 2 laps to make it work. They won the national championship in cyclocross. 11 cyclists ended up making that trip, and we finished 3rd in the overall team competition, but a national championship for those 3. Just sensational stuff in the world of cyclocross. And how big is that for an athletic department and also for the college as a whole to bring home a national championship?
A lot of people don't know what cyclocross is, and so a lot of it's just the awareness piece. They kind of get mountain bike, and so the USA Cycling did a great job by live streaming that this last year, and so it was nice for us that weren't there and able to see it, just exactly how big of a lead we had and how badly they kicked their butts. So it was pretty exciting to see them and then celebrate at the end. And so really happy for them. Hannah is just a beast on a bicycle, so she is so fun to watch.
Yeah, just a sensational victory. And, urge you to go back on Brevard College Tornado social media. You can find the video of that finish, which was just tremendous. And then just a couple weeks later, Tyler Orschel gets on an airplane, goes to Denmark for the cyclocross world championships as a member of the Canadian national team. And, how big is that? I mean, there was 3 who went for the mountain bike world championships, and Tyler went to the cyclocross world championships. Hannah's been to it in past years to not only represent their country, but also to represent Brevard College on a world stage.
No, it's huge. And it also, they still have lives here. They still have class here. They still have all these other things that they're balancing, and they're making it work and competing at such a high level. We're just really lucky to have them here to represent us and compete for Brevard.
Women's basketball, we just spoke with Annalie Bollinger. She was the star of this past year's women's basketball team. She went over the 1,000-point mark. She broke the record for career three-pointers made. Head coach Donald Hudson had a year that he's probably not happy with. They lost a lot of close games. However, overall, success, especially early in the year where they started 6-2. Women's basketball, I would say a success this past year.
Soft spot for that sport. I played it, most of my life. But that team, they care about each other so much. And so those tough losses, and they had, like 2 or 3 games back to back to back, they lost by like a point.
Yep.
And those games are so hard to bounce back from, and they kept doing it. And so I really look forward, losing AB is going to be really hard. But to see how they fill her leadership role on the team and to see what comes of that team and how they progress next year.
Bring us to men's basketball under head coach Lee Burgess. And I want to take a little trip in the time machine back to what was one of the more exciting days at Brevard College. It might have been an evening, actually. A 78-73 overtime win over Piedmont on January 22nd. Levi Lamb just went nuts at the end of that game to tie it up. The gym is going crazy, and then Lamb does it again in overtime, and the Tornadoes get the overtime win. How special is men's basketball on nights like that, and how it can kind of ignite the spirit of a college campus?
Yeah, people lose their minds. I mean, you see student athletes that hardly ever come to games just go crazy. And we have such a close atmosphere in the Boshemer gym, and so it is electric and loud and close and fun, and I couldn't sleep. You get home and you're still like thinking about it, and you're like, gosh, that's why we do our job, is for those nights. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a loud atmosphere. There's no doubt about it, and I encourage fans to check it out come next winter. Now, the next sport I'd like to talk about, not only competes in the fall, but also has some winter action, and it all culminates in the spring, and that's climbing, and we've talked about this before, still can't put our finger exactly on it, but we believe we were the first varsity climbing program in the United States as far as having a collegiate varsity program. A great year for the Brevard College climbing team. The star of the team, a freshman, Madison Altman, she finished 3rd in the sport competition, 5th in speed at the USA Climbing Regional Championships for an automatic bid to the national championships, which happens this weekend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. A great year where she also won a event as well. Head coach Travis Gray is the leader of that group. And kind of like what we talked about with mountain biking, it's really unique that we have a climbing team, especially in this part of the United States, being in the mountains. And although they compete in the gym, it's practical for these guys to then go out and enjoy themselves on the weekends too, and challenge themselves. Can you speak a little bit about the climbing program and, again, sort of its uniqueness that we have one here at Brevard?
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot about that sport. Went to their fall and their spring home matches. What do you call them?
Competitions.
There we
go. the kids in the know call it comps.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's you get in this small space, and thank goodness we had like the perch, so we like sit up above and get to watch everybody. And a kid, you're a story up, and a kid's climbing a wall right next to you, and you're like, I would not be able to do that. What I've learned about that sport is they're so supportive of one another, and the camaraderie is unbelievable. So Travis came to me and asked if the team could go to support Madison. And so the whole team's going to be able to be there. It would be different for her to go to a competition and not have her team there behind her, cheering her on. And so we wish her the best of luck, as a freshman, to see that and be there. Her next 3 years, she'll know what it looks like. So she's so humble, and I think, it's just been a lot of fun seeing her grow in her first year in college, and where she'll be 3 years from now.
Yeah, so be sure to stay tuned to bctornadoes.com and all the social media channels. We'll bring you as many updates as we can this weekend from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the USA Climbing National Championships. Now back to Lamel Family Field, which is the home to Tornado Soccer, but also men's and women's lacrosse. And starting on the men's side, an incredible senior class, 10 seniors who have been through a lot of coaching changes over the years, but really seem to settle in their groove this year under head coach Jim Fritz. A incredible group led by Jackson McCaig, who has just basically every record in the book for scoring at Brevard College. Hewitt Farr is right behind him. Peyton Mooney broke some records in the goal, but really an exceptional senior class. That's what I like to ask you about when it comes to men's lacrosse.
Yeah.
You know, how special that senior class was.
Yeah, and we're going to miss them. You know, that's the kind of class you wish that you could keep forever. But it is it's a sport that I've missed, that we didn't have at my previous institution. And I forget how violent it is. You know, I find myself staying around the scores table just because I want to be able to feel like the momentum shift. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable when you're standing right there and a goal is scored. I mean, it's just a very highly emotional game on both sides. And so that's exciting to be a part of.
And on the women's lacrosse side, under head coach Kristen Rosado, you know, a up and down season, but, you know, in terms of wins and losses, but another great group of student athletes who not only, you know, had success on the field at times this year, but have really been exceptional in the community, really leaders as far as, you know, a lot of the other sports go as far as their community service.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Coach Rosado definitely pushes the learn in order to serve type of motto. And so they buy in, you know, and I think when you can establish a culture like that, lay the groundwork down, you'll have success that will follow.
Now, next from the McCoy Tennis Complex, men's and women's tennis, and to me, from my vantage point, the success of the tennis teams has been, you know, one of the really big highlights of the overall season for Brevard College athletics. I mean, some amazing individual runs. Tom Mittring, Tim Hanks, and Tyler Frazee. The three of them went 33-0 in USA South Conference singles play. Just swept the competition in conference play. You know, the conference awards haven't come out yet, but you know, they've got to be in the conversation for Player of the Year type stuff. And then on the women's side, a transfer, Samantha Seppi, became the star of the women's team, and she finished her year with 12 straight singles wins, including a run where for 8 straight matches, she won every match 6-0, 6-0.
Yeah,
so in other words, she didn't even give up a game for 8 straight matches. Really successful year for men's and women's tennis under head coach Evan Schreiner. Could you comment even further on, you know, how proud you are of that group?
Yeah, you know, the men unfortunately just had 2 pieces missing on the team, but the guys that did compete were incredible. I mean, they just had a stellar year. Seppi has been an amazing piece for the women's program. Not only does she win all the time, but then she supports her teammates.
Yep.
And so to see her just finish up a match and then she's running from court to court to court to cheer on, you know, her teammates, that's what it's all about, and they feed off that. And so they've had a ton of success, I think, because largely her energy that she's brought to the team. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Now, few more. We're almost there, but the spring's docket is a heavy one. Track and field. We had a new coach come in, around Christmas break, Daryl Patrick, and he has quickly gotten the team up to speed, for the track and field season, while also looking ahead to next year's cross country year. And they had a nice weekend at the USA South Track and Field Championships this past weekend in Kentucky. The 4x100 meter team finishing second in a podium finish. I know there's some challenges and limitations as far as roster size and that kind of thing, and Coach Patrick is really, building the program up, but pleased with where it's headed?
I told him that my expectations were low because he came in January and then you start. And so I think what he's been able to do with what he has is incredible, and that's a testament to our student athletes and their commitment to getting better every day. But it's definitely a sport, this being the first year that the USA South has offered it in a championship. It's definitely a sport that I want to grow, and a sport that, I want us to see us be in the talks at the top of the realm every year. So excited for him.
Yeah, and a lot of potential, especially on the distance side with the cross-country scene up here in western North Carolina, and a great tradition at Brevard College for cross-country.
Yeah.
Next up, softball. The Brevard College softball team had a lot of big highlights this year, 17 wins in total, Grand Slam home runs, exciting moments from Michaela McCoy and Allie Grace Hartman. Emily White with a big year as well, leading the team with a 400 batting average. Just a nice year for that group. Pleased with how softball did.
Yeah, softball's fun to watch, especially when you have nice weather. They were just short of missing the mark for the ECAC, and I know that was a goal of theirs. But again, they're a young team, and so I think in the next few years they're going to put the pieces together and just be deadly. So
another young team, the baseball team, just one senior, Michael Merriman, who unfortunately due to some injuries barely got to play this year, but we did get a nice day honoring him last week. And, they had a couple of big moments, a two-game sweep over Emory and Henry. And the biggest moment of the year was a 3-2 win over the 11th-ranked team in the nation, Huntington. On years like that where, there's a lot more losses than wins, what do you observe as a athletic director, and what do you try to do to, make sure the team stays on the right track?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, you just want to make sure that they're having a good experience. That's the biggest piece in my seat, is what experience are we providing for them, and how do we make that better? Certainly beating a Huntington in a season, for a coach, you can hang on to that and kind of push momentum through that win. But it is an incredibly difficult conference in that sport. We have some really great competition there. So, I think the guys rally together and just move it to the next game.
Men's golf, Austin Fisher qualified for the USA South Men's Golf Conference Championships. He had a huge year, one of the top athletic performers of the year across all of Brevard College. And also Thibaut Turgeant, got a entry into the USA South Conference, due to a little bit of attrition from one of the other teams.
Yep.
Chris Fry did a really nice job coming in and handling the golf program down the stretch here.
No, absolutely. And talking about when you decide to cut a program, how do you make the current student athletes feel like their experience is worthwhile? And that was my question. Austin's plans are to go pro, and so he wanted a certain amount of competitions to go to, and he's proved that he belongs in those and at the top of the ranks in the conference. So wish him the best of luck, him and Thibault, and just hope that they can represent us well down there.
Cheer and dance, Molly Penland, the head cheer and dance coach and also part of the administrative staff, is in the house, and the cheer and dance team finished second at the Limestone College competition, and certainly, we're leaders in terms of the spirit side of it at, basketball and football games. How important is it to have a good cheer program at any athletic department?
Yeah, if people overlook them, they're missing the boat there. I mean, they provide an incredible experience for game days. And especially the ones that stay through the entire year. Football is really easy to get people to be a part of because it's 5 games. Basketball is a grind. It's 5 months. You have a ton of home games, and so they've been really committed to the program, and I think a large part of that's Molly's leadership.
Yeah, and nice job in the community as well. And we'll finish with this, road cycling. So one more national championship that the Brevard College Tornadoes will be competing in May 10th through 12th in Augusta, Georgia. It's interesting to see the different cyclists who specialize in some of these different disciplines and so forth. Tim Coffey, Scott McGill have both had big years so far in road cycling, and I know there's several others who will be heading down there to Augusta. It's kind of interesting that, for much of Division III, they're all wrapped up, but yet we'll have this on May 10th through 12th to look forward to.
Right, yeah. No, it's staying healthy at this point, and maintaining that level of competitiveness. But road cycling is very different. I attended my first road cycling race at the Clemson race this past month, and I don't know how they do it. I keep saying that because I literally don't know how they do it. But it is just grueling, and they love it. And so I wish them the best of luck. You know, typically we've struggled a little bit in road cycling, and so hopefully they can put the pieces together to bring it home.
Well, I think that covers it as far as the 2018-19 Brevard College athletics and all the highlights of the year. Still, hopefully some more to come with men's golf and climbing and road cycling, but really a tremendous year. And congratulations to you, Miranda, as far as, leading the ship, for a big year in Tornado athletics, and can't wait to see what's next in 2019 and 20. A lot of those schedules are already out, and fans can start to make their plans. And thanks for all your support in what myself and Joseph Marvin do as far as the sports information operation, and here at Tornado Talk. So, do want to encourage you fans to visit the official athletics website, bctornadoes.com. Follow the Tornadoes on Twitter and Instagram at bctornadoes. Also, be sure to like the Brevard College Athletics Facebook page, and want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingles, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub. And I think that'll about do it for a season of Tornado Talk, unless Junior is over there ready for After the Storm. Yep. I
knew he was waiting for it.
I knew it was coming. All right. Thank you, Miranda. Congratulations on a great year. So, all right, I'm going to hand over the reins to the producer of Tornado Talk, Joseph Marvin, and Juan Jr. Actually, I'll stick around and just direct traffic. I don't want it to get too out of control with these two. So,
Phil, we'll keep it manageable.
Yeah,
all right.
PG.
So joined here by Joseph Marvin and Juan Jr. You two came up with this idea. I'm still not sure, if it's the best idea or not, but this idea of After the Storm, this post-show, for the real diehards who want to have some sports talk. And so I'll just throw it out there. What's on your mind, guys?
Well, what's on our mind today is the Masters. It's been a few weeks now since that completed, but Tiger for sure. That story is unreal. It's been something personally that I've been waiting for 8 years. So it's just
I mean,
unreal
I
to see
did.
that.
To be fair, I do not follow golf as avidly as Joseph does.
Yeah.
So I had to do some research. To be fair, I think I spent Sunday and Saturday reading up on Tiger and whatnot.
He impressed me. He was even teaching me some things over there, honestly.
To be fair, I saw him. I saw the game-winning putt by accident. So I was like, oh, okay, Tiger just, hit another putt, whatever. And then everybody went crazy. And I was like, oh, this must be really important. And then I read about it a little bit. And, I mean, he hasn't won a tournament in, 11 years?
He hasn't won a major, 11 years.
11
it's
years.
been the Masters. Wow.
They're
What a
calling it
story.
the greatest comeback in
What
sports
a story.
history
Definitely
ever.
one of the best sports stories this year.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who is, maybe a full generation older than you two and has been following sports,
Fair.
all these years, and kind of, I like to look at things sort of, big picture, and, what if people are making history or not. It definitely is
Right. Sure.
up there. It's
Yeah.
one of those where people remember where they were when it happened.
Yeah.
That they'll be telling their grandkids about, all those sorts of cliches. It was exceptional, as far as him coming back from the back injury.
Absolutely.
And also from all of his personal issues. And basically, and what was interesting to me was how the public, who was so against him in so many ways, after some of those personal issues, sort of sensed that, hey, this guy's rehabbed himself, from a person, from the inside out.
Right.
And, he was by far the fan favorite at the
For
Masters.
sure, yeah. Anytime Tiger is on a golf course, it's definitely something that is primetime television, something that everybody gets to. He's changed the sport in such a way. Before, where it was kind of known as an elitist kind of, country club atmosphere, when he came on the scene, it just changed the whole landscape. And I think that his story is one that even though he went through personal issues and then also his multiple injuries, it's something that people can look up to, that your life can turn around just like that. And you can, if you work at something, that you can, succeed and get back to where you.
Well, and I think it was his commitment to professionalism.
Sure.
I think when he was younger, I was reading about him a little bit, and he told his dad, he made his dad a promise that he was going to commit himself to be the ultimate professional, whatever he did. And so, I think that this win is kind of, it embodies that, right? With his personal struggles and his injuries and whatnot, being able to get back to that elite, level to perform against the best, and that's kind of what his personal brand is, or his mission is. He wants to be the ultimate professional at whatever he does, and I think that I don't want to call it. I guess that mission statement for him is kind of what kept him straight and narrow and enabled him to come back in the way that he did.
It was an interesting Sunday for me because I wasn't expecting the golf to happen so early in the day. Because of rain, they teed off at 7 a.m. Correct, Joseph?
Yep.
And went in threesomes instead of twosomes to try to get as many folks in as possible. So an event that would usually be ending on what's Sunday known as, sort of the Sunday prime time, heading into 60 minutes on CBS at 6, 7 p.m.,
Right.
was ending at about 1, 2 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time. I was in my car driving from one part of the North Carolina to another, and I was listening to the national radio broadcast of the Masters. And it was amazing, first of all, how well these guys were painting the picture and bringing out all the drama. But the commentator on the radio broadcast says something very interesting, sort of to your point about Tiger. He said that he has never witnessed Tiger go through 4 rounds so cool, calm, and collected.
Absolutely.
Not once get angry or shout or curse. And something that he would be prone to before, a lot, like in a kind of an emotional roller coaster a little bit. But this tournament, cool, calm, collected the whole way, business-like, gets the win of the century.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't think it was that big of a deal when he first did it, because we watched a couple of rounds. I was at one of my friend's house. We were watching a soccer game, and then after the soccer game, we turned on to golf because he follows golf, and he was just hitting the shots. If he made a mistake, he was just level-headed. He just brushed it off, and he just went about his business, played his own game, and then he just won the tournament like it was any other day. So I think it's that commitment to being the ultimate professional that helped him stay calm. Because I can only imagine the pressure those guys are under at a tournament of that size. So kudos to Tiger, and I hope he gets a couple more green jackets.
Yeah, for sure. You can also attest it to his maturity as he's aged.
And fatherhood helps
Yeah,
in that.
fatherhood, especially one of the more special things I noticed when I was watching the broadcast were his kids there alongside his mom and his girlfriend. The last time he won a major, his kids weren't old enough to remember, and that was one of his, when he made his comeback, he was like, that's one of my missions, is to let my kids see, me at the top of the game like I was. And that was a real special moment to witness, just because I had seen him when I was growing up at his best, and he had his family there by his side, but he didn't have his kids. They weren't old enough to remember. Obviously they were there, but they were not old enough. But it was definitely special to see that.
All right, well, let's shift gears because I know what Junior really wants to talk about. It's international soccer.
Oh man, that's my bread and butter.
I'm just gonna let you guys, riff on it a little bit while I, listen in.
This is kind of what we do every day,
We were actually checking the standings at lunch. I was like, Joseph, look up the Spanish league. Look up the German league.
We were going through every little corner of the world as far as soccer goes, but to start things off, the club that I support, Tottenham Hotspur, a big rival of his, if you tuned into last week's show, Chelsea FC.
Yeah, big teams in London.
Big teams. Tottenham moved on. He talked a little bit about the Champions League, the big tournament in Europe. They are through to the semifinals, first time they've ever made it that far. They're in They're in search of. It's kind of a prime time to be a
Their
Tottenham
first
supporter.
and only trophy.
Yep, it is. It's the golden age, I would say, because they've never been on Europe's biggest stage this far. But we go back and forth. It's good fun.
But I mean, that game they played. So they played Manchester City in the what, semifinal?
The
No, quarterfinal. In the
yes.
quarterfinal. And 20 minutes in, it was 2-2.
Yeah,
4 goals in 20 minutes.
very helter-skelter style of football.
I mean, it was amazing. The game was just wide open. City ended up winning the game 4-3. And they could have won it 5-3, which would have eliminated Tottenham. But the VAR,
Yes.
this new policy that FIFA has.
Debuted at the World Cup, if you
Mhm.
remember.
Yep.
It has made its way to the Champions League next year. It will be full-time in the Premier League. England
This is the
top
replay
flight.
system where
Yeah,
they
the
have,
replay, yeah.
and they go back to that studio where the officials are.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then the referee will watch it, as many times as it needs to make a decision. And so they got their 5th goal was disallowed because of a VAR, and it's been this huge debate and whatnot.
And there's actually 2 instances of VAR that came into play. There was one goal that Tottenham scored to get their 3rd goal, which ended up being the deciding away goal. That it came off of Fernando Llorente. He was off of a
totally
corner.
handballed it.
It's
It was
a
totally
debate.
a
It's a
handball.
debate. Ball came off his hip. His arm was there.
Hip or
You
elbow,
know,
debatable.
it's kind of the deflate gate of the
Right, yeah, it
European
could be. It
scene
could be
right
the
now.
deflate gate
Yeah.
of the Champions League
There's some big calls that did go Tottenham's way in that match.
Yeah, but I mean, it was an amazing game. I could have watched him play all day.
It was just that.
Yeah, because it was just that open. I mean, both teams were looking for a result, and it was just pure. It was very, very fun to watch attacking
absolutely.
soccer. Because usually, when you're at a tournament that big, one team will kind of sit back, and then another team will try to get the result. But both teams, they just went after it.
And that's kind of what I was expecting going into, because Tottenham had a 1-0 lead on aggregate due to the fact that they had played in North London the week prior, and they had beat Man City 1-0. And I was expecting a little more of like them to sit back.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting 4 goals in the first 20 minutes. That was definitely a surprise.
Now, I did notice on Sports Center, I believe, last week, there was a highlight reel goal by Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay.
And I assume that happened in Champions League play, perhaps?
It might have. It depends
Could
what
have.
goal are you
I
talking
believe
about.
he did score in their last. The team he plays for, Juventus, they did get knocked out by a young side called Ajax from the Netherlands, but it could have been in league play too.
So that leads me to the question that's like, kind of everybody's debate. Who's the best player in the world?
If it were up to me, Lionel Messi.
All right, so I think Lionel Messi definitely is. He's the best player in the world. I think Ronaldo is probably the best athlete in the world, just because him, similar to Tiger, like Ronaldo has committed himself to be the ultimate professional. There was an article I was reading, him and a teammate at Manchester United. So they went to training in the morning, and then Ronaldo took him back to his house, and they ate salad with no dressing and plain chicken. And then they went to his personal gym and worked out. And then Ronaldo wanted to play soccer tennis. And that's what they did for the day. And his teammate he told him, he said, Ronaldo, if we were going to do this, we should have just stayed at the training ground. I thought we were going to come and relax, not train some more. And so, I mean, that's what Ronaldo lives for. So I think Ronaldo is definitely the better athlete. But Messi
Now, is Neymar even in the conversation?
No, I don't think so.
I can't say he is now.
No.
I do agree where Junior's coming from as far as Ronaldo being the best athlete in the world. It kind of, you can kind of go back to the LeBron, MJ, Kobe debates that go on in the NBA. It's kind of that a way to look at it.
Well, that is the perfect segue to something I wanted to talk about.
All right.
There you go.
And I don't know if you saw this tweet I sent, but I think I have identified, and I'm not the only one, but there's not many of us, the best athlete in the world
Okay.
today. And he does not perform in a mainstream sport whatsoever. Have either of you seen the movie that won Best Documentary at the Academy Awards called Free Solo?
Oh, you know what? My roommate was watching it. It's the guys that were going up, right?
It's one guy.
Yeah.
Okay. His name's Alex Honnold. Alex became the first human being in the history of the world to free climb El Capitan
Right, yeah.
at Yosemite National Park.
Okay.
And you have to see this movie.
Right.
You can find it on the National Geographic Channel now, but it was out in, independent theaters and that kind of thing. The footage is incredible.
Right.
And part of the whole story is these free climbers like this, and when we say free,
I mean, there's no ropes. There's nothing.
ropes.
If he
There's
falls,
support.
that's it.
It's
One
done.
move,
Wow.
the tiniest of mistakes, death. Okay?
For sure.
And the moves he has to make and the scale he has to go up is just mind-blowing. If
Right.
you've ever seen El Capitan or
Yeah.
even just a photograph of it.
Yeah, I remember reading about it. Yeah, I mean it's definitely an incredible feat. And like you said, one mistake and it's game over forever.
Yep. And
Flawless.
it was a fascinating movie. Part of it is, his preparation for it, but also his mindset, because he had this, camera crew with him. And the first time he started up, he stopped halfway and said, "I can't do it."
Really.
And then he got back with the camera crew and said, "Hey, we need to make some adjustments, use more drones, stay out of my way. I can't feel like any sort of responsibility for anyone else." He secretly goes on some of these trips without telling family members
Right.
and just goes for it, when he feels ready. And he was able to accomplish this.
That's amazing.
After watching the
crazy.
film, I cannot think of a better athlete in the world than this individual. The things he had to do to climb up this mountain
Yeah.
all by himself,
And then the
not to
concentration.
mention the consequences
Right.
if one thing goes wrong, is incredible. So if anyone hasn't seen the movie, Free Solo, check it out.
Right.
And
So I think I saw my roommate was watching another documentary about two other climbers, and they climbed the other side of El Capitan, and it took them like 3 weeks or something. And they would climb, and then they would set up their tents that would hang off the side of the mountain.
Right.
And they would recover for a couple days, and then they'd climb some more. But yeah, I mean, they didn't. This guy did it in one go.
He did basically the impossible looking grade.
Okay.
Which is almost 90 degrees straight up, with a couple of different points where he's like literally hanging on something, just centimeters wide.
Right.
Birds are flying by his head and all this stuff, and he did it in I think 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. Yeah. These
So
guys took
when
a
you're
couple
going up
weeks.
that side, and he's going fast at some time.
Yeah.
Part of it is like knowing when to go fast. There's other times when his body is jammed into a crevice and being bent a certain way, and he's climbing through this rock. It's incredible.
Right.
I'd love to talk to head coach Travis
Yeah, I was
Gray
about
and
to
some of
say.
the
Gotta get him
climbing
on that,
team
'cause
about
that's-
it.
that's an incredible feat,
Certainly,
for sure.
we value safety and don't want to encourage anybody to go on any of these
Yeah, do
missions.
not try
but
this at home.
but really incredible stuff. But hey, before I let you guys go and we wrap up this edition of After the Storm, anything else on your mind in the world of sports?
Well, the NHL playoffs are in full steam. Local Carolina Hurricanes are in. Currently tied 2-2, the Washington Capitals, defending Stanley Cup champions. It's very competitive. Always am intrigued by the Stanley Cup playoffs.
What I love
because
about
of
the Stanley Cup is the intensity
Yes,
really
absolutely.
ramps up. You watch a regular season hockey game, okay, this is cool. You watch
You can
Stanley
tell,
Cup.
and also the atmosphere of the fans is just
Yep.
unmatched as far as I'm concerned with American sport. It's just a different type of feel. Alive. It's nothing like watching on TV than going to a actual hockey game live. It's very intense, very in your face, and there's a lot of parity in the NHL as far as different teams. Maybe not so the favorites winning all the time, but there's always that wild card in there. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's what's on my mind right
NHL
now.
playoffs, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball regular
It's a
season
lot
getting going.
on. It's a good
Always
time.
something
Yeah,
good in
there's
the
always
world of
something going on.
sports.
Football's right around the corner too.
You know what I just got into? Formula One.
Wow,
It's very entertaining.
It's nice, yeah.
It's very entertaining for
Cool.
sure.
Yeah.
There's a race this weekend. I think in Baku. That's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and so that'll be exciting to see. You got Mercedes and Ferrari. They've been coming 1-2 which is very rare for the teams, both drivers to come in 1-2. So they're dominating the scene right now. So yeah, that'll definitely be an exciting race for all the Formula One drivers.
It's a fun way to spend an early Sunday morning is
Oh,
tuning in from some other part of the world and checking out. Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about Formula One, you know, to me versus NASCAR is it's so much about the technology and the equipment and the teamwork. Those pit stops in Formula One are unbelievable.
If you take more than 2 seconds, it's too long.
Yeah, and just the synchronicity and the precision that those guys are getting all that done. You know, interesting that you're catching on to the Formula One bug, which is incredibly popular throughout the world.
For sure, yeah. I feel like when I went to Europe this past summer, every little place that we went to had Formula One on. There's always a group of people watching it. It's definitely something that the rest of the world is very intrigued by. So.
Might have to talk to the folks here at Dugan's Pub. You know, maybe get a Formula One watch party going one of these mornings.
6 in the morning.
Well, guys,
absolutely.
I hate to do it to you, but we're going to have to wrap up after the storm.
Well,
a great season. Thanks for all your work, Joseph, especially behind the scenes and making Tornado Talk possible. Juan Jr., I think there's a future to this after the storm deal.
So it was a good test run.
Yeah,
these past couple of
viewers
times.
can look forward to the fall of 2019 for the continuation of it. And just want to thank all of our guests tonight. Head coach for women's soccer, Juan Mascaro, assistant coach Chelsea Shaughnessy, FAR Dr. Steve Nutt, women's basketball student athlete Annalie Bollinger, and athletic director Miranda Nash, as well as Joseph Marvin and Juan Mascaro Jr. Thanks to everybody for joining. A great season of Tornado Talk has come to a close. We'll see you next fall here at Brevard College.
Sounds good.